Welcome back to the show. My name's Mark Nixon. I want to improve every single day, so we're going to do things differently today. I'm going to deliver all of you the top headlines in the last 24 hours in 12 minutes. If you like this new delivery, leave a comment because I want to be the absolute best for all of you, and I know we don't have time to waste. We need everything compressed, and we need it now. Let's get into it. Let's go. We're going to start things off with the top story, and you're not going to believe this one. After 10 years of fiscal mismanagement and Justin Trudeau saying the budget will balance itself, Mark Carney's like, forget the budget. I don't want to have a budget. The budget is out the window. And check out this news release.
Pay for it. And the reason so for example, for the fall economic statement, I take your point that it's going to be more thorough, but I remember your predecessor, Chrystia Freeland, instructing us many times, this is not a mini budget. This is just an update on where finances are concerned. And I'll point to, for example, other things that have happened with your government in the past, where you've made a promise to cut consultants and instead the spending on consultants has gone up 13%. Like, how are we as Canadians to hold your government accountable for what you're promising if you're not going to be transparent about it for 6 months or so? And I take your point about the timeline, throne speech. There's still another month.
And I would say this is a new government. So let's start, if we're going to start, this is a new government, new legislature, new prime minister. So the direction is very clear. He's being
But you're still the finance minister.
Yeah, I'm still the finance minister. And I would say the world has changed also in 6 weeks. So Canadians understand that. And my objective to them is to provide them the best picture of the financial account of Canada, to be prudent. I mean, you'll hear me use that word more and more. Prudence, in a very...
What does it mean?
Well, prudent is that you take as much information as you have to make sure you provide them with the best possible picture. That's why I said when we're going to come back in the fall, we're going to be in a position to provide them with a fiscal update, which are going to be substantive. And like I said, there will be no surprises because, the way normally I would agree with you that, the calendar year is quite different this year because we had an election in April. And that changed a bit the calendar of how things normally happen in Canada. But what I'm saying is that first you need to provide the tax break to Canadians, then the throne speech, then you have a substantive fall economic statement, so you have a clearer picture of the...
Did you get that, Canada? There'll be zero surprises, and he delivers the zero surprises with zero budget. That's a surprise in itself. What government has never had a budget? Like, that is absolutely atrocious. I have a question for you. Would you invest your money in a country that has zero budget? Yeah, that's insane. If you were to invest your money on a government that has zero safety guardrails, are not going to follow any kind of financial plan whatsoever, and saying, just trust us, that does not give any confidence to the investment world. And that tax cut that they're talking about, it's going to be equivalent to $38 per month for a single parent, or it's going to be $80 per month, so $800 a year for a family with 2 working adults. What a tax cut. That leads me to the next top story. Our food prices in Canada are scheduled to explode upwards in price.
Canada's largest grocery chain is warning Canadians that we're going to have to pay more for groceries and soon. And Donald Trump's tariffs are to blame. Scott is back and following the story. This is Loblaws. The CEO says they've kind of kept things as low as they could to this point, but things are going to change.
Yeah, and this is Loblaw in this instance, but this is affecting a lot of the grocery stores. But Loblaw coming out and saying that they've tried to build up their inventory pre-tariff worries, and now that inventory is running out. So now they're going to be buying inventory at higher tariff levels, and they're going to be passing those prices along, of course, to us, the consumers. And these are some of the details about what we're expecting from Loblaw, in particular, from the CEO, saying that right now there's tariffs on about 1,000 goods that Loblaw carries. They have over 80,000 items, so 1,000 right now, and the CEO says that could go up to 3,000 in the next couple of weeks alone, and as high as 6,000 items to be impacted in the next couple of months. And again, those price increases passed along generally to the consumer. Now, as per the CEO, that's Per Bank is his name, he lays the blame squarely on the U.S. tariffs, saying in a statement that while the tariff situation might be improving between the U.S. and other countries, that's not the case here in Canada. In fact, we'll be facing a large wave of tariff-related increases in the weeks ahead. Goes on to say that this means, unfortunately, a lot of us, if not all of us, will be paying more for food, for produce, for health and beauty items, everything that Loblaw carries, and so this will be exponentially increasing on what Loblaw will be paying in tariffs, but they're not alone. A lot of the grocery stores are going through the same thing, but this is a statement from the CEO.
And you're not going to believe this next piece of information. This was just released. Canada's new tariffs on U.S. dropped to nearly zero with exemptions. There is zero tariffs on the U.S. goods right now. So why are we paying more and more for grocery prices? You got to think about that. Here's my take on this. Loblaws says that grocery prices are about to explode because of tariffs. Is it just me, or does this feel like a preemptive price gouging dressed up in a warning? Canadians are being conditioned to accept higher prices. There needs to be a full investigation. And this is just a reminder from Statistics Canada that in 2024, 1 in 4 adults, so 10 million Canadians, including 2.5 million children, live in households that can't afford enough food. So this is going to make things much, much worse. And here's a comment from Michael Campbell. He says, I nailed it. That is exactly what they're doing. They're doing preemptive price gouging. It's not Trump's tariffs. It's ours. Canada still has tariffs on food imported from the US. They have never removed. Why in the world are they tariffing food? That should be something that would never be tariffed because it's going to make food prices go up in Canada. The US has dropped most of the tariffs against Canada, particularly those goods compliant with the USMCA. However, Canada still maintains 25% tariff on certain US food goods, including food items like poultry, pork, dairy, fruits, vegetables, as part of its retaliatory measures initiated in March 4th, 2025, in response to earlier U.S. tariffs. That comes from Grok. And our next story is Elections Canada said, oops, we messed up. We apologize for the error. We promised to do better, but they're going to keep the results as is. I can't wait to do better next time after handing the Liberals a seat this time. Yves-François Blanchet says, yeah, not on my clock that you're going to win by one vote when the whole thing should go to by-election. Let's hear from him.
Misinformation. The situation is quite clear. The judge has established that the Bloc Québécois would have lost the riding by one vote. The vote appeared in the hands of a citizen in a very clear fashion. And in that situation, the law requires the election to be done all over again in the riding of Terrebonne. This is what we expect. But since, I don't know what's the name in English of Election Canada, but since they cannot by themselves ask for the election to be repeated, we have to bring this situation in front of a judge in a court in order to do the election all over again.
Do you think that sets a precedent that you won't accept official election results from Elections Canada and you're not willing to listen to the vote of the people when your party doesn't win?
I'm not getting into that. I'm sorry to rain on the spectacular parade, but this is not my mindset. There's a law. It appears clear. We have a case. We go forward because we want this election to be held properly, and that's it.
Don't you just love the media and their questions? It's absolutely unacceptable that they would win by one vote when, in fact, there was a mistake with Elections Canada. Next, we have our new housing minister that says the problem with housing and affordability in Canada is there's not enough supply. That's the problem. Here's the thing. In the city of Toronto, there's a record amount of listings right now. And sales are at record low, not seen in 25 years. He needs to take a lesson in economics. This is our new housing minister. It's not a supply problem. It's an affordability problem. He needs to wake up. And you're going to love this one. CBC eliminates bonuses for executives and staff, but they boost their salaries instead. They just want to bury these bonuses so that the public doesn't lose their mind about all their tax dollars going to fund CBC and their bonuses. Mark Carney appointed a chief government whip to keep those MPs in line. Guess who is in this picture? I'd love to hear it in the comment section. Do you know who this is? And what does a government whip do? He keeps MPs under control and discipline. Someone gets caught using the government's laptop to look up OnlyFans, government whip. Too much booze drinking during their lunchtime, government whip. Late to work or hardly do anything? Government whip. Actually, scratch that. You'll probably get a promotion. Closing remarks. Hopefully you like my rapid fire 12 minutes. All the news that you need to know in the last 24 hours. The Liberal government has been attacking the oil and gas industry for years with regulations, emissions cap, and high taxes, driving investments out of Canada and weakening our economy. Now they claim that nobody wants to build pipelines in Canada because of climate change. Are you kidding me? Nobody wants to build pipelines in Canada because we have a hostile government. And don't you find it interesting that we have a housing crisis? Trump is a huge crisis. Our economy is in crisis. Crisis of climate change. Crisis. Everything in Canada is a crisis. It's almost like they use it to control people with fear. Our government is the one that's in crisis. Would love to hear from you in the comment section. What do you think about today's 12-minute news stories? I'll see you on the next report.